Hey there, blade fans. Welcome back. And I must say I am honored and privileged today to bring you a review on a knife supplied to me for review by none other than Tim Kell of T.KELL Knives. And you see before you not only Tim's lovely sticker as well as mine, but this phenomenal FMF frogman field knife. I believe I have that correct. Frogman field knife. And while you take a look at that beauty that we're going to talk about in detail and to a great extent today, I'll tell you a little bit about it. This is from Tim's webpage. I'll make sure that you have the link. This came out and he was accepting reservations in October of 2023. These knives are just now becoming available. I think probably the second run. First run was small and sold out quickly. So I'm so happy to have this knife available for review at this time. Let's give you a little background on it. So this latest blade is the second in the SEER series, built in collaboration with Jason Pike, SEAL Team 7, CEO of Frogman Tactical. And you may know a little bit about Jason Pike if you've been following any sort of tactical military or you're in the military. And by the way, Tim Kell, yes, is a retired USMC Marine. So he knows what he's talking about, and these knives are made in the USA in Georgia, and they are custom made, handmade. Tim puts an incredible amount of effort into them. Let me move on so that I'm not just talking and not moving things around on the table for you. SEER, S-E-R-E, stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape, and is a training program best known by its military acronym. So the SEER line of blades started with the now incredibly popular Mercenary. The Mercenary was created to fill the need for a fast, well-balanced, full-handled, and capable combat blade designed by Tim Kell. And I'll give you a brief look at that one. We're going to bring it back out for comparison in a moment. Happen to have it off on the side here so you can take a look at both of these babies. And if you are interested in serious field and tactical knives, these are the ones. Look no further if you like the 5.5 to 6 inch bladed option. So the FMF has a 5.5 inch blade with a high grind and a 1.5 inch tall blade, making it a superb slicer. And the balance points on all TKELL knives have been thought out and perfected with the FMF and does not disappoint. For a big blade, it feels super fast and nimble while retaining a full strength of 0.165 thick blade thickness. So I will refer to Tim's specs once again rather than measure them out. It'll give me a little more time to kind of compare and show you. So let's put the Mercenary aside. I do have a full review on that. What do I feel about this knife? I think it is possibly the best fixed blade tactical field knife you could get your hands on. And tactical also means I think this would work out well as a survival knife to have in your kit. It would make a great field knife. Certainly, if you are doing any kind of a scuba or underwater work, it's going to work out perfectly because it is made from AEB-L steel. And while I don't have the HRC on that, I'm pretty certain it's at least around a 60. I know that Tim puts an awful lot of work into the hardening of the steel, of cryo quenching it, as I understand, and putting a phenomenal edge on it, not to mention nickel boron finish. This super slick, almost Teflon slick coating on the blades that also prevents corrosion and rust, not a big worry with AEB-L, AEB-L is pretty much rust proof. Although nothing is rust proof, you leave it in salt and brine long enough and don't rinse it off, you know, certainly it could tarnish. But AEB-L is akin to 14C28N and Nitro V. They're all kind of in the same ballpark with varying amounts of the different metal elements. This comes through with an excellent edge. In fact, maybe even a little rough for paper, but it is very bitey. Very, very, very bitey. I think as Tim showed in one of his demonstrations, very often a knife will have a little hard time cutting paper, but cuts through flesh and meats and trees and cardboard with no problem whatsoever. So this does have, as you can see, a really nice, clean, and wide bevel. It has an excellent point. That point is exactly in line with the center of the handle and has a Bowie clip that is a little bit hooked. That gives you a little more fineness, as far as my understanding goes, out at the tip. But if you look at the tip, look at the thickness. It is the same here as it is here, and then comes to a point where the sharpening bevel is. It is piercy. How piercy is it? Well, let's go back to the paper again. Oh yeah. No problem. If you rip on the back hook, no problem either. There's no edge, obviously, on the swedge here, but that tip can always be engaged. We also have some very deep jimping that's going to work with gloves. That's why this is as deep and wide as it is. It's going to work with gloves. It's going to work with your frogman outfit on, or whatever you got on your hands. And if it's barehanded, then they're not going to really bite you. They're going to work for you. These don't have sharp edges. People take a look at these big jimps on some of these knives and say, oh, it's just going to tear my thumb up. That's not the case necessarily. We got a good thickness on the spine. Let me read you off those specs I was talking about. So we have AEB-L steel. We have 10.36 inches from the tip of the point to the end of that persuader pommel. We'll take a look at that again in a minute. Got a 5.5-inch blade length. I think it's a perfect length for a field knife. Much bigger and it gets unwieldy and difficult to carry, much smaller and you don't have the edge you need. And look at, got a beautiful sharpening choil there. No finger choil. The choil's really built into, if you want to call it that, into the handle with the guard. We've got and I'll put these specs up on the screen as I'm reading them here. 1.5-inch blade height. That's very high and wide, but just enough. We got a 5-inch handle. So we got a 5.5-inch blade and a 5-inch handle, a beautiful balance. And it weighs 8.7 ounces with the knife only. So here's that pommel. It is a wedge that is ground into both the handle. And I'm going to show you in a minute that this handle is perfectly interchangeable. These slabs, perfectly interchangeable with the mercenary, should you have the mercenary or have extra handles for the mercenary. These can go back and forth. We have the lashing bolts. So what you do is you put your hex wrench in there and you can loosen these guys up, take the handle scales right off. Tim's knives are super modular. Talking about the sheath, let's make sure I got the right sheath here. There we go, because they're very similar. The sheaths are their own work of art. Look at that. Now you may ask, let's see if I can back out just a little here. You may ask, what is this? Well, that's a tensioning screw so that you can loosen that and slide that up there. And now you really need to tug on that knife to get it out. So if you are jumping with the knife, if you are in tough situation in the woods where you're rolling, falling, you don't want that knife to come out, basically you slide that up there, and then you can make it pretty much impossible to take it out if you torque down on that thumb screw. It's just a perfect system. If you want this to come out easy peasy, but it still locks in. So everyday use, no problem. There you have built-in jimps and a thumb ramp on the Kydex. You've got slots in 4 places. You've got screws or grommet holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, okay? So whatever you want to put on here, you can. Here's a DCC clip. And this is a bona fide DCC clip that is attached to a riser. And this riser, is the name I'm calling it, will come off. And again, you can put just about anything on here that you want to. So this is designed to lock onto a belt the way it is. The whole thing can be repositioned. Just extremely well thought out, particularly for field, tactical, and military. So got a drainage hole here. There is no aspect of the knife that wasn't thoughtfully considered by somebody who's used knives in the field, under duress, in tactical military operations. Let's bring the Mercenary out again. Mercenary, I won't go over it in detail, has a similar sheath. Sometimes Tim upgrades this Mercenary. I think it's 1.5 to 2 years old, something like that. And this one has a plastic hook style clip on it. Can be exchanged for a DCC clip, but you see you got the same mount there. And this one looks like it was 3D printed. This guy here looks like it has been molded. So at least that's my take on it. So there's the Mercenary if you happen to have that knife next to the FMF, Frogman field knife. And you can see that we've got about a 1/2 inch longer on the Mercenary, and we have not as tall a blade. It's a little narrower blade. That smoky look that you see on the blades is the nickel boron finish, which in itself, I believe, has a hardness up over HRC 70. Here's another comparison. Here is a Lion Steel, talking about field knives. There's a Lion Steel by Melita, T5, and that's shorter than both. What's that coming in at? That's got like a 5-inch blade. So we've got 5-inch, 5.5 inch, and 6-inch. And then, by the way, this is a beautiful field knife as well. A little thicker in the handle. Tim does tend to go thin on the handles because they ride so well. Here is the Ops Hawk. If you wanted something a little smaller, well, significantly smaller, and a little more carryable. And that's coming in with about a 5-inch blade, I believe. Yeah, 4 3/4 on that guy. So if you happen to have the Ops Hawk, there is the Frogman field knife next to it. Much narrower, much skinnier top to bottom on the handle and on the blade on that guy. Nice red G10 burl handle on that one. And these are the bullet grips. You can get grips without these cut-ins, but these give some extra grip for sure. And you can see, I'm not sure if Tim gives you this measurement or not, but I'll give you the measurement for those that are concerned. In inches, the thickness of this handle is only 0.54. So thinner than some folding knives. But it fits the hand, I would say, and particularly if you're wearing gloves, it definitely fits the hand. It feels comfortable. It feels ergonomic. You've got enough handle height so that that thinness is really a non-issue. Now, as usual, Tim may very well chime in and fill in any details that I may have missed in this review, but I got to tell you, again, I'm really thinking that if you wanted one knife for survival, for the woods, even to pack discreetly if you've got the room on your belt, inside the waistband, what have you, this thing is just killer, just excellent. Well, I'm all excited about this review, and thanks again to Tim and TKELL Knives for supplying this blade for review. I will be back with you soon, and don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe. Be well.